What's up everybody, my name's Andy and welcome back to Kit Guru. So today we're checking out two new mice from Asus, the Asus TUF M4 Wireless and the Asus TUF M4 Air. The M4 Air is an ultra lightweight wired mouse and comes in with a price tag of $47.99, whereas the M4 Wireless is a battery operated wireless mouse coming in at $53.99. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more awesome tech videos. So both mice have exactly the same dimensions at 126 by 63.5 by 39.6 millimeters, and despite looking different, their shape and design is actually identical. The only difference is, of course, the M4 Air has a triangular hole design to minimize weight as much as possible, as the M4 Air comes in at just 47 grams without the cable, so this is an ultra lightweight mouse. Whereas the M4 Wireless is a solid shell design that, while is lightweight without a battery or a dongle at 62 grams, the weight does go up to 77 grams with the use of a AAA battery, and up again to 86 grams using a AA battery. Whilst we're talking about weight, I wanted to add that the M4 Wireless is back heavy, and the back falls down when picked up from the middle, and the exact opposite is true of the M4 Air. This is front heavy due to the paracord cable, but it's only very slightly front heavy. Both mice have a symmetrical design, and the M4 Wireless is even marketed as an ambidextrous design, but both mice only have forward and back buttons on the left-hand side for right-handed use, rather than on both sides. The mice themselves are made up of three main separate shells, one on the left, one on the right, and one on the back. The primary buttons don't have comfort grooves on them, but are separate from the back shells and each other. The M4 Air also sees more weight removal with holes in the back of each primary button too. The M4 Wireless has very light etchings on both sides for minor grip support, and the M4 Air has some more noticeable recessed triangles for grip support there. As the M4 Air has a holey design, you can see the board inside, but don't worry, Asus claim that it has IPX6 water resistance. The M4 Wireless's back shell is removable to gain access to the wireless dongle and battery compartment, and it comes included with a AA battery and a AAA battery along with the adapter for it to fit correctly. I wasn't expecting to see both types of batteries included, and they're Duracell too, so that's quite nice. Another new feature is the Asus Antibacterial Guard found on both mice, which is an antibacterial ionic silver treatment on the PBT primary buttons, the back shell and the side caps. This supposedly prevents growth more than 99% over a 24-hour period. Now, I have no way of testing this and it could just be marketing talk, but if it does work, then I'm all for a more hygienic product, especially if you're going to be sharing your workstation with somebody else. Surprisingly, you won't find a single bit of RGB LED in either of these mice, and for some that will be welcomed for sure, but I always like to have some RGB LED because then you can always have the choice of turning it off. But of course, the M4 Air is making a statement anyway with those triangular holes, and the M4 Wireless still has some slight accenting to make it not entirely dull. On the back of the shell, we have a gloss TUF logo, and towards the back of the primary buttons, we have some slight etching, the same that can be found on either side for grip. The M4 Wireless could definitely pass off as a work mouse, but the M4 Air still looks a bit more aggressive with its holey design. In terms of comfort, both mice feel exactly the same. The only difference I found is that the side buttons protrude quite a bit more on the M4 Wireless. In feel, these mice feel very similar to the Razer Viper, but the Viper is a true ambidextrous design with side buttons on both sides, and I think it's just a little bit more comfortable with the comfort grooves on the primary buttons too. But needless to say, both the M4 variants feel good to me using fingertip grip, claw grip, and palm grip, but palm grip will leave your pinky dragging around on the mouse mat. Underneath, they're the same again, but with more holes on the M4 Air. We have the same 100% PTFE glide pads that feel very nice on my mouse mat. The only difference here is that the M4 Wireless has a switch for off, Bluetooth, and 2.4 GHz wireless. Both mice have programmable buttons, the side buttons, right button, DPI switcher underneath, the scroll wheel, the scroll click, but you can set the scroll up and down to actions via the software too. All the buttons actually feel different in both mice. The side buttons on the M4 Wireless are Huano switches and are slightly mushy in comparison to the super clicky Kale side buttons on the M4 Air. The primary buttons feel very slightly different, despite both having the same Kale red switches. The M4 Wireless are slightly more clicky but need just a little bit more pressure to actuate. The M4 Wireless has both pre-travel and post-travel, whereas the M4 Air has less pre-travel but the same post-travel. The M4 Wireless has a slightly more clicky DPI switcher too, and there is an RGB LED indicator here above to display which DPI you have set, whereas the M4 Air doesn't. The scroll wheels are identical though and feel the same with tactile increments. You can hear the difference of all the buttons, so let's do a sound test comparing the two. In terms of build quality, both mice are excellent. There's zero rattle from either of them, and I can't get either to actuate any buttons when squeezed hard or pressing down on the top. There is minimal flex from the M4 Wireless on the top, but that's to be expected since the back shell is removable. The M4 Air is rock solid despite its holy design though. Connectivity, of course, is different between the two. The M4 Air is a USB 2.0 mouse with a non-detachable paracord cable. The cable is okay, but it's quite loose and you can see that the cord bunches up and twists in certain areas, but it is very flexible. The M4 Wireless has no wired option, and instead we get Bluetooth 5.1 and 2.4 GHz wireless. The M4 Wireless Asus claims to have some impressive battery life capabilities. Using a AA battery gives you 134 hours using 2.4 GHz wireless and a huge 232 hours on Bluetooth mode. Using a AAA battery claims to give you 53 hours on 2.4 GHz wireless and 100 hours on Bluetooth. Battery life is displayed in the software, and you can set to get a battery alert with the LED indicator that usually displays your DPI settings when switching DPI. There's also a sleep mode after being idle from 1 to 10 minutes, or you can set that to never too. Another difference is the sensors used in both mice. The M4 Air has a PAW3335 sensor, whereas the M4 Wireless has a PAW3311 sensor. The M4 Air can reach up to 16,000 DPI, has 400 IPS, 40G acceleration, and 1000 Hz polling rate, whereas the M4 Wireless has up to 12,000 DPI, 300 IPS, 35G acceleration, and 1000 Hz polling rate via 2.4 GHz wireless. Both have angle snapping settings that can be turned on or off via the software too. Despite the difference in sensors, I actually didn't have any issues with either of them. Both performed great without any jittering, tracking issues, or anything at all actually, and despite being mid-priced mice, I didn't notice any lack of quality from the sensors whilst gaming, but with the M4 Wireless I of course use 2.4 GHz wireless for gaming, as this gives you the best settings and polling rate. Bluetooth 5.1, whilst giving you better battery life, is aimed at productivity rather than fast-paced gaming, but it would be fine for point and clicks or just slower paced games though. Another difference is the M4 Wireless has no lift-off distance settings that can be changed, whereas the M4 Air can be changed from low to high in the software. I did a lift-off distance test using the disk method. The M4 Wireless with no changeable settings still read as normal at 1 disk height, but completely stopped reading at 2 disks height, so that's a medium lift-off distance I'd say. The M4 Air on low settings still read at 1 disc height, but stopped reading at 2 discs, so it's not really that low of a setting. Setting the M4 Air to high saw the exact same results as the low setting, no matter how many times I unplugged and replugged the mouse or changed the settings in the software, and I was using the most up-to-date firmware, so it must just be a software glitch. In terms of software, both mice use Asus Armoury Crate, so download the latest version and make sure to check for firmware updates for each of the mice as well. The buttons tab is where you can reassign the programmable buttons for both mice. Select whatever you like from the drop-down. You can choose from mice functions, keyboard functions, multimedia, shortcuts, screenshots, and much more. The performance tab lets you change the 4 onboard DPI stages, changing polling rate and angle snapping too. The M4 Wireless has a power tab to show battery life, change alert settings, and sleep modes, whereas the M4 Air has a calibration tab for liftoff distance. Lastly is the firmware update page, and that sends you to the update page. In conclusion, do I think that they're worth their price tags of $47.99 for the M4 Air and $53.99 for the M4 Wireless? Personally, I think both of these mice performed admirably for approximately £50 each, and I think that's the perfect price bracket for them too. If they were marketed at £70, well then I would have said they would have been better suited at £50. So I'm pretty happy that Asus have priced them correctly. Both mice build quality are excellent, both are very comfortable, both have antibacterial coatings, and both performed excellently. It's great to see both the Air and wireless variants so that you have a choice. If you want a super lightweight wired mouse, the M4 Air is for you. Rather have the wireless and Bluetooth freedom? Well then the M4 Wireless is for you instead. Overall, I can't really fault either of these mice. The only thing would have been nice to see maybe some RGB LEDs, but they've clearly omitted this to keep costs down. It would have been nice to see a wired option for the wireless version, but again, I can understand why that's not there. And also, the only other downside for the M4 Air is that bunching cable. But really, I can look past those because the performance of these mice are very good. So what do you think? Let us know down in the comments. Are you going to be going for the M4 Air or the M4 Wireless, or are you not getting one of these at all? Let us know down in the comments. Make sure to check out our merchandise down below. Check out our website daily for tech news. I'm Andy. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.